Anyone with any knowledge about how things can suddenly go wrong in the Australian racing and breeding industry knows full well how important it is to have the ears of our federal politicians. I was fortunate again to MC a great evening at Parliament House in Canberra, where our political leaders joined forces with breeders at the coalface.
It is a great honour and privilege to host this event here in the Speaker's Courtyard. You're all welcome to the Parliament of Australia.
And I guess I just want to convey to you the support from the Albanese government for your industry.
It's about regional areas, it's about jobs, it's about people going to the races and getting dressed up or just being at the races and having a good time. It's about fraternity, it's about celebration of sport, fresh air, and all the good things.
To each and every one of you, please don't underestimate the role and the significance that you play in regional rural Australia, but you play for this nation. The thoroughbred industry is so important. From the city to the bush, it plays not just a financial one and an economic one in jobs, but it's our outlet. It's an outlet for so many Australians and for us to come together. And after a couple of tough years, it was great to come back together. And I can tell you in regional Australia, it is the social fabric that brings us together is the races.
I want to talk just briefly about the importance of this industry, not just, I've talked previously about how important it is as an employer, often for people who struggle to find employment in other areas, but have a wonderful affinity with the horses themselves. For all the trainers and people involved here tonight, thank you for what you do, because often there's countless hours and hours and hours that go into preparing these horses and loving and caring for them, and we appreciate what you do in that space.
It is a challenge. We employ over 100 staff across our 2 farms, and that is one of our biggest challenges, is always finding staff, and we're always looking for staff at every level. We've got the vet nurses and the highly skilled stallion grooms, foaling personnel, stud managers, and lots of young people. We are really passionate about staff, and one of the roles at TBA has really led the way on is training young Australians into this great industry, and we've had some really wonderful success stories. People coming from broken homes, caravan parks, bad beginnings and rough educations, coming into the horse business and really making a great career of it. They come into a family situation on these farms, they have a house, they have a great community around them, a great environment, and to see these wonderful young people really thrive in our industry is something we're very passionate and very proud of.
Tom, well, congratulations. It's been an absolutely fantastic event here at Parliament House in Canberra. We've had such wonderful support from, all sides of politics, and great to see so many breeders and representatives of the sales companies and everyone here supporting the breeding industry.
Yeah, so tonight, couldn't be more pleased with how it went. This is an event that Thoroughbred Breeders Australia put on for 4 or 5 years in a row before COVID, and we had a bit of a hiatus, but back in the Speaker's office tonight, so very grateful to the Speaker Milton Dick, and I think we probably had 40-50 politicians here, a number of cabinet ministers, so really great evening.
Hey, what are some of the things that you've been trying to get across to them about our industry?
Yeah, so there are so many touch points for breeding and the federal government. So, it might be visas for foreign workers, it might be quarantine, access to the herpes vaccine, and getting the government to fast track that. And also a big one for us at the moment is around wagering reform. And the government are bringing out a new policy around online wagering and making sure that the industry, racing, the revenues to racing, which obviously is so important to breeding, aren't forgotten about when that policy has been designed.
One of our biggest downfalls as an industry is promoting the positives of our sport, because the negatives headline news and we don't get enough of the positives out there. And like we spoke about earlier, Everest weekend in Sydney, eastern suburbs of Sydney, chock-a-block with people. The Melbourne City will be, and I'm not talking the racetracks themselves, I'm talking the milliners, the dressmakers, the restaurants, the hotels, the spin-offs from this sport, and it flows on. You go to the rural communities, people travel for hundreds of miles to go to once-a-year race meetings, and they travel from metropolitan areas to do it. We deal with a wonderful animal that we love, and that's why we work with them. And let's not kid ourselves. I work with them because I probably don't know how to do anything else, and it is my living, but I love the horse. That's what led me there, and we want to really promote that, the positives more and more. We need to get those people that don't have access to our industry, bring them along, send buses, drag them in, don't charge them to get in, have a day out, enjoy our great sport, and then maybe they'll go away and tell some other people what a great industry it is. We know they don't all run fast, but now we've created, well, I think it's always been there, but it's now promoted more the positives for horses post-racing as well, and a lot of people using them in all forms of equine industry, not only equestrian but everything, and a lot of pleasure horses out there, and they do give horses great pleasure, but the connection people make with the horse, and we even see a lot of disabled things and riding for disabled. Horses just have an innate sense of people's challenges, and they'll work with them, won't they? It's phenomenal, and if people get to see that more, I think it'll put a more positive spin on our great sport.
And Stuart and Penny Lamont at Kringle Stud have been friends of mine for years. I know the work that Tom Riley and others, the Australian Turf Club, the Victoria Racing Club, do to make sure that racing is the number one sport in spring. We get football out of the road, we get the motor racing out of the road, and we talk about the real horsepower, the thoroughbreds. But it's also about jobs. It's also about the 80,000 jobs, and many of those are in regional Australia. It is about the wagering and the benefit that wagering brings, not only to, of course, the industry, but it pays for a lot of hospitals and schools at a state level. Then we have the colour and the movement and the passion, and everybody loves to have a flutter on the races. I know, having served on the Murrumbidgee Turf Club at Wagga Wagga as a director, how many dollars are pumped out of that club to charitable organisations, not-for-profits, which, but for the MTC and but for racing and but for people like the Lamonts, they wouldn't have their charity dollars. They wouldn't be able to run their organisations as well as they do. And so that shouldn't be forgotten either. So it's about jobs, it's about charity dollars, it's about people having fun.
How much have you sort of had to push for racing within the halls of Parliament? How hard is it to get some people to understand it's not just about wagering, it's not just about wealthy people and their horses, it is grassroots?
Not that I want to pat myself on the back, but I was the one who actually saved racing during COVID, because we were having one of those meaningful meetings where we were looking at what we needed to cancel, what we couldn't continue to hold, and racing came up. And of course I phoned both Stuart and Tom Callahor and Greg Nichols and Peter Volandis and said, you need to put in place a COVID-safe plan for racing. And it was only those calls that I made, and only that meeting that we had, and I only had an hour to do it, that saved racing, enabled racing to continue.
All the ministers turn up this evening and play their part and listen to what we've got to say. It's important, and to have those relationships, week in, all year round, and be able to have constant support from them is so important for our industry. I know, firsthand through COVID what Tom did with his relationships down here to ensure that we could run our sales as well as we could, and to bring international buyers in. It's such an important component having these relationships to make things happen when you need to, and having nights like tonight just so those relationships are a little bit stronger, so we can have that going forward.
We want to try and create an environment whereby people have safe environments to work in, that are well staffed, that are in good federal support from the point of view of whether it's domestic policy or export policy. We want to try and have a set of conditions that are optimising the opportunities that vendors have to maximise income, maximise revenue, have good staff on their farm. It's hugely important because our vendors and our breeders in Australia are doing a really excellent job. We have a product that's recognised worldwide as being of the highest standard. We want to try and not just maintain those standards, but continue to grow them, continue to develop.
And really great to see that it's not just, the party in government at the time. It's both sides of politics that are really invested in this industry.
Absolutely. It is great to see, from all the parties here, mingling, actually laughing together and enjoying the evening. So it's great that they've all been here and been involved in the evening. Right through the horses to the staff, that look after the horses. It's so important to be able to let them have an understanding of what we require and having the access to get the staff onto the farm, into the country, and so forth. So it is fantastic, and obviously in the investment that Mr. Zhang has put into the industry, and they're very interested to know his background and how he became to having a farm here in Australia. So it's been a great night, and I think it's a fantastic job that Tom and his team have done.
Don't underestimate the importance that you play for each and every one of us. You play in this nation, and the seriousness that we take you in the halls of Canberra. Be loud, be proud, make sure you're here. You have bipartisan support, and as those challenges come forward, both sides of the aisle will work together to make sure that we support the men and women, the hard-working men and women in this great industry. So thanks for having me. Have a great night, and please don't be strangers. Thanks for having us.